For all that are joining, we're going to be live right now, but the event will be starting at 11 a.m.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. You're not getting nothing? Okay.
Oh, crazy horse. Well, I got one for you there. I have one for you. Yeah. Back one.
Mic check. Mic check. Mic. Nothing on your end? Okay.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2. Good. All right, you guys. If you are tuning in live here, we're going to be starting shortly. The media is here, and we're just getting everything together. But please be patient. And again, if you look at the bottom, there's mental health numbers that you can call if you guys need somebody to talk to. Also, as well, wherever you're watching from, can you please share it as well? There's a lot of people that are asking for the links. So if you know people that want to watch it and are not on Facebook, can you please share the YouTube channel as well? If you are on Facebook, please share whatever page you're watching from. We are live on Star Blanket IRS ground search updates on the Facebook page, as well as the IOPPS.ca Empowering Indigenous Success Facebook page. As well, we are live on IOPS YouTube channel. So thank you, everybody. Please be patient. We'll be starting shortly. Testing 1 2 1 2 testing. Once again, there is mental health numbers that you guys can call if you were needing to talk to someone. The first one is National Indian Residential School crisis line. It's 24 hours. Right at the bottom there, 1-866-925-4419. The next one is White Raven Healing Center, 306-332-2608. And mental health support is 811.
Just a quick explanation for the balcony. It is off limits just because of liability and the instability of the balcony. So we cannot have anybody going up there.
And then last but not least, we have the suicide hotline, 1-833-456-4566.
They're trying to split them first.
Do you need this? Is that a mail or?
They have a like if there's an adapter to go from your recorder into like a line in like just a The recorder I bought in university. It has come in very handy when I need
Nice. I bought a Zoom because my instructor was like, buy a Zoom. He made everyone get one. And I'm like, oh, at least I have it.
I mean, they don't make these anymore.
Yeah,
I assume they did. They would be.
right.
So I think we have a lot of things settled up here. So we're just waiting for the leaders as they're having a quick meeting. And all the media are set up. So like again, you guys, all the mental health phone numbers are right below, scrolling on the bottom. Please be advised, there will be sensitive information being shared during this live broadcast. And we send prayers to everybody. These are tough to be in and watch. So once again, please, if you do need to talk to anybody, please use the mental health numbers below that are provided. One is for National Indian Residential School Crisis Line, 24 hours. That's 1-866-925-4419. The White Raven Healing Center, 306-332-2608. Mental health support, 811. The suicide hotline, 1-833-456-4566. Thank you again for tuning in wherever you're watching from. Prayers out to everybody. As we wait, the gym is full here. We are in Star Blanket First Nation. And right off outside of Lebret, as you guys did see the post, there will be a big announcement here in the next few minutes, I think. And we'll take it from there. But please be advised again, there will be sensitive information being shared and spoken about. And there's a lot of support out there, you guys. I want you to know, everybody, that we are not alone. We all have each other as well to speak to. But if you do want to speak to a mental health therapist, please use the numbers below. Speak to elders, whoever you got to speak to. And Bears with you again.
No, she didn't do anything. It was like a yeah. My recording, I fucked up on that. I hit the button too many times. So.
Did she lose any money?
No, she knew who it was. It was basically just a funny story. She kept the guy on the line for like 15 minutes and like talked to them. And she was like a cute old lady, and I was like, oh. And then when I went to listen to it back, I'm like,
Just a quick public health announcement. The building is non-smoking, so I've had some reports of some people lighting up. Not not to be a downer, but we'll ask that if you need to have a smoke, please go out the front doors and have a smoke outside. The building is designated non-smoking.
yeah, really came through. Amazing. Thank you. Yeah. Good to know.
This is for the media. When there is question period during the presentation, if the media have any questions they want to ask, there is the microphone here just in front of the sound table. Here's the lone mic stand right there. You can approach that mic and ask your question to the head table.
It was right there.
The new CGME hire.
Craftsman soon. Yeah. So we'll see down the road. Brett.
I'm Tanner from,
Tanner.
I guess, the competition.
All right, you guys, we are gonna do grand entry. Everyone's getting ready. Once again, I want to repeat once again, please, if you guys are feeling the need to speak with someone 24/7, 365, please check
So
out
if we
the
can get
numbers.
leadership to assemble.
Please look at the numbers below mental health numbers. So the first one is National Indian Residential School Crisis Hotline. That's 1-866-925-4419. The next is White Raven Healing Center, 1-306-332-2608. And then the mental health support, 811. And then you have the suicide hotline at 1-833-456-4566. Once again, you guys, please use those numbers. If not, talk to somebody, your family, anybody. There's always someone to listen to 24/7, 365, no matter where you are. So please keep in contact if you need to speak with someone.
Okay, Nigamuk. Hi. You may be seated. Everyone can grab their seats. As we're doing that, I'll just introduce the dignitaries from the list that was given to me here. From our own community, we have Council Member Kathy Stonechild from Star Blanket. We have Council Member Joanne Starr from Star Blanket. Scott Iashapi, Chief from CTK. Councillor Matt Nookshis from Star Blanket. Obviously the FSIN Chief, Mr. Bobby Cameron from Wichiken Lake. Council Member Edward Dumont from Oakneys. Council Member James Dieter from Oakneys. Council Member Blaine Panay from Pepixies. The Tribal Chief from Philos Qu'appelle Tribal Council, Jeremy Fourhorns. Chief Roger Redmond from Standing Buffalo. Chief Richard Stonechild from Oakneys. Chief Alvin Francis from Niganit First Nation. Chief Ira MacArthur from Pheasant Rump. Chief Mark Fox from Pipot. And Chief Pigan from Pasqua. It's kind of a little bit scribbly there. And our MLA from Last Mountain Touchwood, Travis Kisig. I hope I pronounced that last name right, Travis. Didn't want to butcher your last name there, but those are our dignitaries that come in with us into the procession. I'd like to thank the singers for the song. I'm getting a message from the Zoom folks, sound man, and you need to beef up my sound a little bit, Gerard, you need to beef up my sound a little bit. The Zoom people can't hear me, from what I understand. So yeah, they said it's a little difficult to hear. So when it's my turn to speak, maybe we'll just beef it up at that time. So with the agenda, we'll have opening comments from our Chief Michael Starr of Star Blanket.
Testing. I want to, first of all, acknowledge our Samantu, our Creator God, for bringing us together today. Acknowledge our Kateak that are here. Acknowledge our Kateak, both our Muslims and our Kukums, the ones that lifted our Aspagans this morning for us on behalf of what we're going to do today. And I thank them very much. A very heartfelt, very emotional pipe ceremony that we had this morning. We were given good direction, good thought, and so I acknowledge that in a good way. And we prayed the way we prayed. Acknowledge our head table here that are seated with us. Of course, Chief of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, Chief Bobby Cameron, our Tribal Chief, FHQ, Philos Qu'appelle Tribal Council, Tribal Chief Jeremy Fourhorns, our team. And of course, sitting next to me is, I call her my auntie, I call her my sister. One of our Kateak, one of our knowledge keepers, and the keeper of our language. Sharon Strongarm. And so I welcome her too, and she'll bring her remarks in a little while here. I acknowledge our team that are sitting here, our council, our team members. Some of our team are on the side as well. Thank Cherish for organizing us, organizing this day, and of course our team, providing you this comfort, providing you this space to come and sit with us. We acknowledge you that way, in a good way. Of course, my brothers, my colleagues, my sister colleagues, the Ogimaos of our nations, I'm very honored that you come and you sit with us and you bring your prayers, your guidance as well, and your support for what we're going to announce. Acknowledge our membership, our citizenship. Mamachakusa kutakupit and wapay mustusis and a tim kumikusit. We acknowledge that way from our members that live in the urban settings, in our rural areas of our towns and villages. So acknowledge all of you that way. Acknowledge the ones that are here and the ones that are online. Our new way of business these days, online. Acknowledge the ones that are sitting here, the ones that are Indigenous Service Canada, Health Canada, our MLAs that are here, the ministers that are here that could be here. So we acknowledge you for taking that time to be here. Our hearts are heavy today. This has been a very emotional journey for all of us on the team, our community. We acknowledge that this is not our fault, what we're doing here. We acknowledge that. We're just doing the necessary work, what was brought here and what was given to us in terms of the land where you are. We call it, and we named it after our first and our remembered original chief of Wapimustusis, White Buffalo Calf. So that's the lands you're sitting on. And as we know, this was the last residential school. This site, this very gymnasium that you're in, it housed the students, the young people that went here up until 1998. Prior to 1973, as we understand it and we come to know, and you all know in your minds and your hearts, who ran these institutions. Whether you call them oblates, whether you call them Roman Catholics, whether you call them priests, whether you call them nuns, those are the individuals that intended to give us good education. But as we understand it, that was not it. That was not the way. Up until 1973, when some of our local First Nations took over this institution and did their best to give appropriate education, better education, if you will. So we acknowledge that work for a period of 10 years until 1983, when our nation of Star Blanket took over this base, this land base, and the school, the institution that was here. And in our minds, in our hearts, the leadership at that time, we did our best as well because we were aware of the things that were happening in the past. We didn't know exactly what was happening, but we knew something happened. So they managed it the best they can. They brought in our ancestral way. They brought in our languages. They brought in programming. Well, thank you. It's one of the school systems. No, I'm just kidding. All of a sudden. No, they were shut off a long time ago, so I don't know what that was. But in 1983, that's when we assumed the responsibility of this land, the responsibility of the institution that was here. And the sign behind me, the Qu'appelle Indian Residential School. And there was a number of names that included the Lebret Indian Residential School, a number of names. And then to our knowledge and to our understanding, it was the third school. There was 2 other schools prior to that, way back in time, way back when it started, when they started this process. So we are understanding that there's 2 schools that burnt down. And you probably are aware, some of you, in what you have read, what you have learned, in preparing yourselves. So very briefly, before I send it back to Sheldon, that was our history. And we did our best. We managed our best. And we did our best to move the young people that were here out into the communities, out back into their nations. And some of them are here. Some of them are leadership. Some of them are here. So we take a little bit of comfort in that by knowing that we did a little bit good work. That's not me. But I wanted to acknowledge that. I'll say some more statements once Sheldon has give you a true briefing, or not a true briefing, a briefing of what is about to be announced. I'll leave it at that for this moment in time. But just to end by saying in my portion of introducing this, that it was unthinkable. It was profound. It was sad. It was hurtful. And it made us very angry what had happened to our young people here prior to 1973. And maybe it worked itself into the later years, but we did our best to make sure that those kind of things didn't happen here. So I'll say that much for now. I'll do some more statements in a little while. I'll pass it to Sheldon, who has a deadly mic than me. Thank you very much. Hi. Britney Spears mic, they're telling me.
Yeah. I wanted the deadliest mic. Eh? So I was kind of half joking, half not joking when I said I wanted a mic like Britney Spears. I was kind of joking, but kind of not really. I really wanted one, and they got me one, so I have to use it now. So I'm sorry if my mic is more deadly than all the other mics here. But I want to acknowledge everybody here. We all have an attachment to this site. Some of us are former students. Some of us have family members that went here, friends, relatives. I want to acknowledge everyone because we're in this together. This site housed a lot of survivors throughout the years. Lots of students from all over the country, and even some States folks come up and attended school here. So this information is going to hit home. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to start with my report. I just want to acknowledge everyone. We did introduce the mental health and wellness team Maybe give one more wave. They're all in the back there. If at some point in time you feel, oh, and over on the side over this way too, if you feel compelled to approach them and you need that support immediately, by all means, go and use them. We have designated areas that you can sit down with them if what you hear today affects you. They're here. They're here all day for our support. So I'd like to thank our mental health and wellness team too for being available to us during this time. So I want to do a brief history right now of the school. The very first school that was on this site was the Qu'appelle Indian, or was the industrial school, Qu'appelle Industrial School. And there it is. It's the only school out of the three, because there was three that were built on this site, the only school to face south, to face the water to the south. After that, subsequent schools that were built, the entrances faced west, faced towards Fort Qu'appelle that way. But this site, the original site, faced south towards the lake. That's going to be significant in a little bit here through my presentation. But that was the first school. This is the school that Father Huguenot was principal of from 1884 until his passing in 1917. During that time, we do have a special relationship with the Cross Lake IRS project there, Sadney Robinson and his crew, because Huguenot spent some time over there from here. They were having a little difficulty getting their school up and running up there in Cross Lake, so Huguenot went over there to kind of get the administration on the road and everything like that. So we have a close connection with the Cross Lake folks because of that connection through Father Huguenot. So a little bit of a side note there. The original school burnt down in 1903, 1904. It burnt to the ground, so they built a second school in 1904. And then again, that one burnt down in 1932, the second school. And then subsequently in 1935, the third school. This is where the majority of us here still have ties to that third school. I was a student, former student here at the third school. So was my mom, my dad, a lot of my aunties and uncles. You know, they all have that attachment to that third school. So that was built in 1935, and was there was some additions to it as that school matured. And then, like Chief had mentioned, once it closed, it was torn down based on, you know, feelings of the site and what had happened here. A lot of the input around that was to tear the school down. So the Star Blanket leadership of the day honored that request and tore the school down. I'd like to introduce a little bit of the project team. There's some of the third school there. So these are the folks that are currently on the project team. Obviously, Chief Mike Starr, Councillor Edgar Starr, Councillor Catherine Stonechild, Councillor Joanne Starr, Councillor Matthew Nookshis, Sonia Starr, she's our Director of Finance, myself as Director of Operations, Marcel Starr. He's one of our cultural advisors, but he's also the Director of Education. Victor Starr, he's the other cultural advisor, but he's also the community research coordinator for Star Blanket and for specifically our health center. Ariane Star Blanket, who's our community navigator. Gerard Wolf, he's the project manager, but today he's our sound man over there. And Sherry Belgard, my better half, is the other project coordinator. So that's the main. And Cherish Francis, media relations. She just come on to arrange the day today. A lot of planning and all that went into that, and we thank Cherish for putting that together. And our newest addition, Kaylee Starblanket. She's our executive assistant. She's the newest member of the project team. So all the project team here. So project team, wave to the people. You know, there's the project team folks. They're the ones that have guided and taken direction from the community and have steered the project to present day. So this is a picture of the Axiom. I believe that's Taylor. This was in the early stages of the GPR search and scanning. I took this picture myself. I thought a picture speaks 1,000 words, and I felt that maybe that was a good picture to take while we're searching the grounds, in the shadow of the Sacred Heart Church there. I thought that was a significant picture to take. In the early stages of the project team, we got invited over to Cowsis's IRS location. They openly invited us. They wanted to share, the trials and tribulations of their project and their ground search, and they shared a lot with us as far as knowledge on technology, as far as the do's and don'ts. Their team was very, very helpful and kind of put us on that path. The mistakes that they learned, they helped us to avoid when we started to mature as a project team. So a special thank you to Cowsis First Nation and their IRS team for putting us on the path and making sure that we had all the information necessary for our team to be successful. Once we visited that site, we needed to pick a group that were subject matter experts in ground penetrating radar. So we had a lot of interviews, a lot of different companies came and visited with the project team, with Chief and Council, and we eventually picked the group called Axiom. Axiom, they're an astounding group. They have access to a lot of expertise, a lot of subject matter experts, and I believe as IRS groups begin their journey on their projects, they're taking a look at Axiom. We want to give a plug to Axiom. They're very good to work with. They know their stuff, and they're very timely with their reports to us on things such as scanning data and things like that. So thumbs up to Axiom, Taylor and Tanya and the crew up there at Axiom. So what they were able to teach us, what Cowsis kind of taught us, and what Axiom continued to teach us was the GPR technology, ground penetrating radar, what that means, what it does, and specifically what the limitations were. We thought, we're gonna have this radar run around the ground, and that technology is just gonna instantly tell us what's under the ground. Well, that wasn't really the case. For those of us who are familiar with the technology, the best that technology can do is tell us, okay, well, there might be something there. It scans ground disturbances, and it looks for these different anomalies in the ground. And then there's different challenges. This area is one of the hardest areas to scan as far as GPR, just because of, long time ago, glaciers and the receding of the glaciers, ice age, and then the warming up of the earth and all that. It left a lot of sediment in the valley here, because this valley was carved out by ice age. So a lot of different types of sediment, lots of gravel, lots of clay, lots of different types of stuff. It was the worst possible conditions for GPR to scan. So we had to get very creative. We had to teach the technology what to look for in this type of soil, in this type of ground. So it was a lot of work, and I'm glad Axiom was very, very patient with us as we learned about the technology and as we worked together to kind of isolate what it is we were trying to look for. Once we got all that out of the way, areas of interest started to be identified. There's different phases of scanning that we're wanting to do, and we've completed phase 1. That's basically all the flat land around what used to be the school area. So the land closest to the church over there, the track area, whoever's familiar with the grounds, the track area, all the way south, the ball diamond area, all the way this way towards the old bridge, the old concrete bridge, all the way back up to the hockey rink, and then on the parking lot here. So all that has completed as far as phase 1. We do plan to go off-site. We do have 50% commitment from some of the landowners in the seminary areas. We have listening to the stories, listening to the guidance of former residential school survivors. You know, I heard a story about here. You should check here. I've heard this area is an area of interest. There's stories about that area. So we took a lot of the information, and we sent Axiom to those specific areas. So we want to scan the seminary area. There's a place called Ghost Town. Whoever's familiar with the area here, Ghost Town, that there's a lot of stories associated with that. There's a lot of stories associated with across the tracks in the residential area there. There's stories behind the little church up on the flat part on the pasture land up there. These lot of areas off site that we have to work with the landowners moving forward in the different phases off the reserve now to do scanning. So that's what we have to do now. Next, moving forward, we have to meet with these individuals, gain their permission, scan the area, and see what we can find. There's two very extremes of I guess willingness. You have some that want to do what they can to help the project, the volunteer time, whatever we need. All we have to do is ask, and they'll help us out. And then you have the ones that are a little bit more, reserved, a little bit more skittish. They kind of don't want to get involved, but both these extremes have land that we're interested in scanning. So it's going to take some tact and some diplomacy to kind of get everyone on the same page in the coming days. So now that we understood what GPR can actually do, we're able to understand the data. When Axiom scans, they go, they crunch the numbers, they come back, they report to the project team, they explain, okay, this is an area of interest, that's an area of interest, and whatnot. And then we're able to better understand that as a project team and understand what they're talking about. In the early days, we did a lot of grid work. We had this whole gymnasium with grid. We had like colored twine and everything, pieces of wood and whatnot to make those grids, because we needed to lay grids out for the GPR to follow, because they needed a very specific track in order for the data to be collected accurately. So there was a lot of work putting those grids together. There was a lot of volunteerism. We relied heavily on volunteers to help us out. Once the grids were made, then it took teams of volunteers to move those grids in big sections. So they would scan this entire grid area, and then our team would have to roll up all that grid, go over to the next and unravel it, and then they would scan again, and we have to pick it up and roll it up again, go to the next one. So that was during the warm months. During the winter months, it actually got really, really easy, because the GPR signal likes to travel through frozen ground better than warm, moist ground. So a lot of the area they were able to cover during the winter months, and really didn't need too much help from the volunteers, because they just followed their own tracks with that GPR machine. So I was glad. I wasn't looking forward to spending hours every day standing outside trying to move grids around in the snow. So I was happy when they said, "Oh yeah, no, we can make our own tracks and continue on with that work." So that was very, very good. We made a lot of partnerships along the way. A shout out to FSIN who initially funded the project work while we were getting our application in place and getting our proposal in place and putting our work plan together and our budget plan and everything like that. We wanted to get going as a project team. We didn't have the dollars yet. And then Marmy Poitras was someone that we reached out to on the FSIN side, and they said, "Hey, we have budget. We applied to the same fund. We have budget. We can kickstart your project while you wait for your proposal to go through." So we approached FSIN and we did what we had to do to work along that, and we were able to get startup dollars through the FSIN. So thank you, FSIN, for bankrolling the initial days of the project. There were other support groups that wanted to come and help out. The Archdiocese of Regina, that Sacred Heart Church is a part of. They've been more supportive over this past year and a half. Whatever we needed as far as volunteerism, food, supplies, whatever we needed to make the project go, they were more than willing to help out. So a shout out to the Archdiocese of Regina, and then of course Minister Miller here, who's watching us over Zoom. He oversees the residential schools missing children community support fund. That's basically the proposal that we wrote to. There was a lot of discussion between the project team and the minister's team, Jolie, Sarah Ferguson, all those folks, having those meetings, going over the work plan, coming up with I guess an agreed upon kind of plan moving forward. So the understanding is for the time being, they would fund us up to the point of discovery. And then if a discovery was made, then we would take a look at other supports beyond that. So they were very helpful in that regard. We were successful in our proposal, and we were able to fund the project from then on. So a shout out to Minister Miller and his team for approving our project and helping us fund what we needed to do to get the work done here. So I'm just going to go into the GPR data now. The Zoom folks can see that, right? Okay. So basically what we have here, so like I said before, we've scanned all the areas around where the school used to be. So this is kind of a shadow of the third school. So whoever's familiar with the third school, there's the classroom building behind there, the gym, the boiler area, the laundry room area, the dining rooms, and then the classroom, and then the dormitories there in that one structure. So we've all those little dots. If you can see those little dots, those are areas of interest. Now, the color coordination of the dots means different things. A color might mean when the scan took place, because we scanned in segments throughout the past year. So I won't go into too much detail about that, but a color code could mean when the area was scanned. It also means at the depth that the area was scanned. It can be anywhere from 1 meter to 1 foot to 8 feet deep, depending on how much areas of interest were and how more of an in-depth scan needed to happen there. So all those colors and those different things mean something. So after everything is said and done, in just phase one, which is just the open area around the site itself, we acquired over 2,000 confirmed hits for the scanning. So does that mean there's 2,000 unmarked graves? We don't think so, because there's anomalies, right? GPR can't definitively say that's something. It could be a stone under the ground. It could be a clump of gravel. It could be a piece of wood, or it could actually be something. We don't know yet. All we know is that there's over 2,000 of them, and that's documented with Axiom. So the plan moving forward with that is now we have to come up with a strategy on how we're going to determine what's a stone, what's a piece of wood, what's gravel, or what that might be actually something. So there's been discussions with Axiom about doing miniature core drilling. Like, if anyone who's in industry here and understands what core drilling is, we want to do that on a minuscule level. So we'll pick an area of interest, we'll send a core drill down, collect a sample, bring it up, and test that sample for DNA on an area of interest. So that's the discussion that we're having right now on the validity of that. It's promising. Axiom is capable of doing that. They just need a little bit of time to kind of get the technology together and get the analysis equipment together, and we can look at something probably once it warms up a little bit in the spring and summer. So that's a plan. That's a strategy that the project team's thought about. That's something that we're looking at and moving forward with. The reason why we're looking at kind of getting creative on trying to figure out DNA and getting some confirmed hits is because we have some direction from our knowledge keepers, from our elders, from the community, and that direction is if you find something, leave it be. That's the direction that we currently have. So in order for us to confirm what it is that's under the ground, this is the option, or the best option, that we came up with, so that we don't disturb what might be there, but at least we can prove that that's either nothing or that's something. So that's a lot of work. That's over 2,000 areas of interest that we have to do that with. So there's also a plan to do a process of elimination. We do have tentative approval from the church to train our GPR equipment to identify their oldest part of their cemetery. The oldest part of their cemetery dates same time as the schools. So if we take the GPR over there, we teach it what to look for as far as old ground disturbance, old cemetery, plug that data into our data, we can use the process of elimination and get rid of some of those dots and then see where we're at after that. So we also did some testing of the water, because there are stories about dumps in the lake. So we took the opportunity last winter to try and do some test scanning while the lake was frozen. So we did achieve some areas of interest, but as they went out further, it got harder for the signal to travel clearly through the water, through the ice, and down and then back up again. It just got too deep. So any scanning deeper than that is not plausible, according to our subject matter experts. So there again, we have to get creative. And Axiom is willing to work with us on that. They have certified divers. We put our heads together. We brainstormed. Maybe we could retrofit the GPR to be dragged along the lake bed via a scuba diver, or we switched to sonar or something like that. So there's a lot of out of the box thinking on how we can accommodate those stories that are out there and talk about the water. The other thing we had that's challenging is the current. You know, if something was dropped in the water here 100 years ago, well, with current and everything like that, it might not be specifically there anymore. It might be down here. So that's a challenge in itself to try and figure out where to scan and what to look for and things like that based on those stories. But there are a lot of stories about the water. So it's something that we have to kind of think about a little bit more. It may take a little bit more time to scan the water, but it's still something that we're thinking about as a project team. So another discovery that we made, and I have personal experience with this, is there are underground rooms just outside. If anyone's familiar with the generator here, the generator room, if you go straight east of that generator room, the GPR has discovered underground rooms that lead that way. There's some of us students here in the building. There was a cave-in back in the late 80s. It got really hot here one day. The pavement caved in and it exposed one of those rooms. And, you know, being a young fella, a few of us being young fellas, hey, let's go and crawl down in that room and see what we can see, you know, not thinking that it might cave in on us further or anything like that. So we jumped down in there. So me keeping that in my memory, I made sure I asked Axiom to scan that area, because a few of us had actually been down in one of those underground rooms. And so the scan has produced more than one room that leads that way. And it brings to mind that film, We Were Children, and it brought to mind late Glenn Adequat, and he talks about underground rooms and what happened to him in those experiences. These stories are coming together and they're fitting together, because just more east of that room is where that priest's house was located. That house that he talked about in the film, it is just over there. And these underground rooms lead that way. So a lot of things are starting to piece together now, and they're starting to coalesce based on the stories that we've heard, based on where they've told us to look. And those areas that they told us to look are a part of the areas of interest that have come up, because that's what guided us, was the stories, was the data that we collected from that. We made sure that was first and foremost in our minds when we directed Axiom, okay, concentrate here, concentrate there, concentrate over here, according to the stories. And the areas of interest have proven something there. So a lot of these things are coming together. Last year, it started to cave in. This is the second room now that showed up on the GPR. This isn't my room that I went down in. I didn't even know this room was here until the GPR showed it. But it's caving in there in that secondary room. There is a GPR, I guess, overlay of how those rooms are situated underneath, but we couldn't find that slide. But if you take a look down in that hole, you can see a corner of my room that I jumped down in way back when I was a student here, and an adjacent corner of another room, which is corroborated by those scans, or by the GPR scans. So, like I said, a lot of those pieces are starting to come together. The data and the stories are matching up, and we find that very, very interesting, very overwhelming, and motivates us to continue with the searching. So now the potential strategy with that is to, because we're not dealing with unmarked graves in that particular area, we are discussing excavating those rooms. Because when I went down in that room, I saw different things. Like I saw furniture, I saw a gurney, I saw medical jars that were very old from my meager expertise, being a teen and jumping down in there. It was a very, very interesting thing. I was only on a break, so I only had like 5 minutes to kind of jump down there and look around, but there was a lot of old stuff. I knew it was an old room. Like it predated anything that I was aware of, and that was always stuck in my mind is, why is this room underground? Why is it here? And it just left me with a lot of unanswered questions. So I personally am looking forward to the excavation of those rooms all the way that way. Bring them up and see what's there. There's artifacts we could probably collect off those rooms. Moving forward, it'll help paint a better picture of what the purpose of those rooms were and why they were underground. And it corroborates other stories. There's lots of stories about the boiler room and the basement behind the boiler room and what's down there, and like a lot of things are starting to piece together, and it's a very, very exciting time as far as that. So we want to reach out to the archaeological folks, the U of S, whoever has that expertise now moving forward, and that'll be another warm season type of thing that we want to carry out in this upcoming season. So all these things take funding. Like you need to pay subject matter experts to help you along in these certain areas. So I'm glad Minister is listening to the presentation, because I want to revisit with his team and now discuss further supports, further funding. There's pieces that we never considered in the first proposal that are now coming to light, and that we have to plan for now moving forward. So I want to bring up another discovery now moving forward, and I want to kind of caution people now here, especially those who haven't heard this next segment. It is going to be a little graphic. It's going to be disturbing to some folks moving forward. So I just want to warn people about that. But on October 2nd, this past October, our security team, specifically Tyrell Starblanket, he was the first on the scene. He's standing back over there. He was the first to discover this area here and what was discovered at this area. So if you can see that those two areas right there, this is where security, specifically Tyrell, made his discovery on shift at this time. So in his patrolling, he came across this. So this is a jawbone fragment that was analyzed by the Sask Coroner's Office. It is a jawbone fragment of a child between the ages of 4 and 6. The bone fragment has been aged to be about 125 years old, which puts us in the first school era. So that brings us back to about 1898. So this is physical evidence, physical proof of an unmarked grave. That's been confirmed by both our Philos Police Service and the Sask Coroner's office. So, moving on to the next slide, it shows just a different angle of the jawbone. So it's a right mandible jawbone fragment that was discovered in that area. And if you want to bring up the school, so this picture is dated 1888. The bone fragment was dated 1898. So this was the closest picture that we could come to that would kind of be similar to the age of the fragment, of the jawbone fragment. And if you take a look, that location would be in the front yard of the first school. Now, one thing we noticed about this is that looks like an area that's prepped for agriculture, a garden or something of that nature. If you will notice, there is no cemetery or graveyard markings in the front of the school there. So this is the closest that we could get to the age of the bone fragment. So 10 years from this picture, approximately that those remains would be deposited in that area there. So in our preliminary research, that's basically what we've discovered. So a lot of things to consider. That bone fragment is in an area of interest. So we did send that information back to Axiom, and Axiom is using the data on those two area of interest points, and they're going to, again, put that into their system and do that process of elimination. Like I said, it's teaching the equipment on what to look for. Because we've identified human remains on those two areas of interest, and they're going to compare that to all those other areas and do that process of elimination. One of the things, the reason why this picture is a little significant is because one of the things that we were told when we were starting out as a project team is we were told, watch the gophers. The gophers will tell you where they are. And we didn't understand really what that meant until it actually happened. That's a new gopher hole in that area of interest. Along with the jawbone, scattered all over around that gopher hole were other little pieces of bone. Those bones ended up to be animal in nature. So what was happening was when the gophers were excavating their new tunnel systems in there, they would run into bone fragments, they would bring them up, and they would just kind of deposit them on the ground there. So along, for lack of a better word, it was a pile, like a little flat little pile of bones. It had a little mixture of everything in there. And then this is what Tyrell came across. He came across that area of bones spread out here and there, and in that one significant one. So they ran into something while they were excavating their holes, and they brought it up and they just placed it there on the ground. So this is lucky for us because we were waiting for DNA core sampling to make any type of determination, but the gophers helped us out and sped up our agenda a little bit on what was discovered. So a lot of next steps. There's protocol, obviously, that we have to follow moving forward. We're already in discussion on what to do with the remains. The remains are present here in that teal colored box. There's protocol that we have to follow now. So the project team is making those arrangements as far as protocol. We have to respect the deceased. We have to respect the remains of the deceased. And that opens up a whole lot of other considerations that we have to now engage the community with. You know, what if this, what if that? Well, what are you going to do? A lot of things we have to consider now moving forward. So where do we go from here? Aside from the cultural protocol, the observations that we have to do, where do we go from here? It's going to mean more community consultation. It's going to mean more input from residential school survivors. I'm not just talking about the ones within the community, but all survivors that attended here. We're looking at getting that input moving forward. How are we going to direct the project now moving forward? What are those things we have to consider? One of the major things that we didn't consider in the beginning days was mental health. There's a lot of project team members, employees that are employed under the project, like security. There's a lot of stress and heaviness in having to be associated with the grounds, knowing what's here, knowing what we're looking for, having to maintain, an air of confidentiality. Like I commend our security team. They had to sit on this information since October 2nd and not say anything. Imagine that, coming to work, knowing what you know and not having to say anything until we got all our documentation in place, till we made all our confirmations. So again, I commend the security team for keeping it under their hat for so long. Oops, sorry. But we also had a very, very beautiful meeting with the community on the commemorative process. What are we going to do to honor the students? How are we going to commemorate them? How are we going to build a memorial? We spent an evening here and talked with our community members on what are we going to do? What does that look like? And we got a lot of input, a lot of great ideas on what we're going to do as far as a commemoration, what that project's going to look like. So the main project is now going to, split off into other projects, other considerations. So that was Orange Shirt Day, our last Orange Shirt Day. This was a day or two prior to the discovery. Very coincidental that we were to discover that bone fragment after this picture was taken. We had just finished walking the grounds, smudging the grounds, and being together as a community to honor Orange Shirt Day. So that concludes my presentation. So we'll go into comments from the chiefs here. Once those comments are completed, then we'll open it up to the media for some discussion. So with that, who do we have first? We have that's right. Before Bobby, we'll go back to Chief.
Thank you, Sheldon. I think we all appreciate the report, the information that you shared to all of us. And acknowledge all the work that has been done leading up to today. And as I indicated when I first began, this is unprecedented. This is something that we never thought we would be doing. We continue to do things here on Wapimustos. We began some development in housing, some of the things that we wanted to do in economic development, and we were moving forward in some thought until the announcement in the other province of British Columbia, the unmarked graves over there, the 215 unmarked graves, and so everything we kind of put in obeyance, we put things on hold until this process has started and taken place, and will carry over time, and maybe we might not be able to do the things we thought we could. This discovery has changed everything. It's changed the things that we're going to do. It's changed our mindset. It's changed our way of life in a way. At the beginning, over this past little while here, the last few months, as we're beginning our meetings, we were asked, what do you want from this? What do you want from the discovery? And we don't want anything. We don't want the things, well, we kind of do a little bit, but for the most part, we want to honor. We want to honor this young child, the remains of this young child. We want the governments to take accountability, the churches to take accountability, the police services to take accountability. That's what we want from this. No longer do we want the things that have oppressed us, those kind of things that oppressed us and kept us down. Though over time, as our prayers indicated, we've been able to work our way up. But this has changed that. This has expedited the process and the way we think. The governments, we need you to rethink the things that you have done to us. We need you to move past. And we need you to understand the way our ancestors wanted us to believe. They wanted us to believe in our treaty perspective. So we need to change that path. So I thank Minister Mark Miller. We reached out to the Prime Minister, but we've accepted Mark and he couldn't be here physically, but he wanted to be part of this process, so he is here via the Zoom. In your minds, if you can think of some of the things that our security team has gone through while they looked after this land. Astam. Astam. Those are some of the voices that are heard here. In the buildings that are adjacent, They hear little rustlings. They hear noises and there's nothing there. And when they go check, they see evidence. There's little fingers. There's little finger marks. And over time, prior to that, in some of the examples, there's young children running in a distance over the arena where we have adjacent. And when they went checked, there was nothing there. You went outside on a snowy day when it was snowy on that particular day. There was no prints. So I say those things in a helpful way, in a healing way. So those are the things I touched on, those things that happen here. And over time, we've had ceremonial, we have feasts, we had ceremony, we had horse dances, we had ghost dances, we had different processes to help this area heal. But it still lingers. So I wanted to tell you that a little bit because that's what our security, and I thank the security for doing that necessary work with us. You see some of the things that are out there, the fences that are up now. We did that the other day, and I thank the security for that work. And we don't know what might happen after this. This is unprecedented, and we're moving that way. And even today, this is not planned, it's not scripted in any way. We are moving with what we have found. And we'll bring honor to the remains. That of a young child. And now we know it's proof. What we kind of knew in our minds and our hearts, the way we were being told. But this is proof. So it's very significant that way. And we have to move together and we have to help one another. I said that the other day when we met with when we engaged our people. We have to learn to help one another and forgive one another of those challenges sometimes that our communities face. And we have to help each other. So I continue to encourage that. Then we got to work together and change the policies that have affected us. The Indian Act. That's what has challenged us so many lives, changed so many lives when it wasn't part of our ancestors' thinking. They wanted us to share the land. They wanted us to be friends. They wanted us to be family. And that's the impact. That's the impact we're reliving a little bit with what we found. So I ask you in a humble way, in a kind way, to be respectful and surround each other, surround the ones that are hurting and need that continued healing. And we're always healing, right? We're always continued healing. There's always devastation that we face in our communities. Our elder, our Kateik, reminded us of that this morning. And we got to be more aggressive, he said. We got to be more aggressive in our leadership. They got to help change the family support systems, the Indian child family support systems, the justice systems. So these are strong statements, but that necessary work needs to continue. So I'll say that much. Hi, hi.
We'll now move to FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron for his comments.
Nigan mantu naskomten miyogi sagaw megwats egwa kihtimno kihtiyak naskomten no hipito atado spagana igagi samostamo igagi sumuan kakyo hipito tieg naskomten kwapamten wow Himetset yekanus. Kainanto teitaman nuago magantik. Apsis pogo skeitaman. Maga. Kakyo akame mok. Kai pakchi. Kagi sumwa. Esto. Gagi Simwin. First and foremost, we thank our Creator for a beautiful day today. To our knowledge keepers for lifting the pipes and praying for every one of us. Chief Michael Starry and your council and your community. The survivors that are here, the descendants. The families that are here, you know who you are. Chiefs that are here, council, and all our technicians. Mark on the line and our MLA, we welcome you. Lots of feelings this morning, all sorts of emotions. Of anger, hurt, pain, anguish. And a feeling that we want justice. A feeling that we want justice served to those individuals that are still living, breathing, that have done these horrific crimes to our children. They are still living out there. And we've said this for years and years to the justice system that has failed our First Nation people time and time and time again. Oh, racism is alive and well in the justice system. If there's anything now that they can do, they can begin by bringing those individuals to justice. We've traveled to the Delma site where we hear stories of footprints being found in a farmer's house. We've been to Sturgeon Landing, we've been to Bovell, we've been to Muskowgan, Gordon's, Beardy's, and everyone has stories of pain, anguish, hurt, and anger. That little baby, those bones, was someone's child, someone's grandchild, someone's chapan, was ripped from that he or she's family's home, kidnapped. That same child would have been someone's parent, grandparent, and chapan, but never got the chance to live life and experience it. never got the chance to have Christmases and family gatherings. Back in those days, it was our sun dances and our ceremonies and our big lodges, our rain dances. Never got the chance because it was robbed from he or she. Magu Magantik, friends and relatives, that particular site, this site, and many other sites are crime scenes. Those are crime scenes that must be addressed immediately. The government of the day spent a pile of money building and rebuilding these residential school sites. Mark Miller, you're the government of the day. And don't be offended what I'm about to say, because it's not your fault. It's not our fault. It's those settlers and colonizers of the day who thought they knew what was best for us. In every site we've visited, every knowledge keeper, every survivor said, and I'm sure here in Star Blanket you would want this. You spend piles of money building these schools so you can commit horrific crimes on our little babies. Mark, you can begin by working with Star Blanket and many other residential school sites to build healing and wellness centers, what we need on our First Nation communities. So many things have been forced upon our people. Before treaty, during treaty, and after treaty. Right now, you know it, and I know it, and all the listeners out there know it. When alcohol and drugs were introduced to our people, one of the worst things that could have ever happened to our communities. We lose people every week, every day. We're losing our children to the provincial social services system. We have more children in care today than we did have children going to the residential schools. We have a lot of work and a lot of healing to do. Again, Chief Michael Starr and others and everyone that's here, we expect, we demand immediate work. In 2011, my son Drake Cameron and I we attended a ghost dance, a chicken dance, and a horse dance right in these open grounds here. Our children are innocent people. They have innocent spirits. And I was off visiting some of the knowledge keepers. And I looked out by the beach, and my son was playing around, talking to somebody. Just about sunset. And I asked him, "Who were you talking to, my boy?" He said, "There are some kids playing here. I didn't see any children." You see, our children see those spirits. They feel them. This country was literally built on the bones of our people, and our blood is in this land right across this country, coast to coast to coast. It is time to start moving forward to the government of the day and our provincial government. It is time to start moving forward and working with the First Nations and the survivors and the descendants who will drive their healing journey, who will drive what will come next. But definitely those healing and wellness centers that are so desperately needed in every First Nation. And this justice system must do better for our First Nations. These are our comments from the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, from our executive, our vice chiefs who are unable to be here, Dutch Laurent, Ali Bear, Heather Bear, and David Pratt. We pray every single day, like each and every one of you do, that our people find that healing journey some way or another. We need action now, and we need action immediately from all levels of government. It must happen on behalf of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations. Thank you for inviting us and listening to us. These are the words of our people, our survivors, the descendants. Let's continue to work together. And to the governments, work with the First Nations. Listen to them. They have the best solutions. They know what's needed within their First Nation communities. You don't. Ekwase, wago magantik. Hi, hi.
Thank you, Chief Cameron. We'll move it on to Tribal Chair of the Qu'appelle Tribal Council, Jeremy Fourhorns.
Thank you, Sheldon. Mama Wutawinon, Shemantuga Milsit. Danse Kiowa. I say hello to you all. I acknowledge our elder AJ Felix for lifting that pipe, speaking for us this morning, for what we had to do today, for the things that we have to talk about and what we have to address. I want to acknowledge Chief Star and the Council of Star Blanket Cree Nation for inviting us all and walking forward with the work that they have had to do on this project for the last little while. I acknowledge our Federation Grand Chief, Bobby Cameron, for being here, for supporting the Star Blanket community. I also acknowledge my chiefs, my File Hills Qu'appelle Tribal Council chiefs who are sitting here in the room, starting from the far west, Niigaaniit Cree Nation, Alvin Francis, Chief Alvin Francis, and Wood Mountain Lakota Chief Ellen LaCain, Paipot Neheopuatak Chief Mark Fox, Muscapeding Soto Chief Melissa Tavita, Pasqua Soto Chief Pegan, Standing Buffalo Dakota Chief Redmond, Pipixis Cree Nation Chief Frank Dieter, Okanese Cree Nation Chief Richard Stonechild, Star Blanket Cree Nation Chief Michael Starr, acknowledge Little Black Bear Chief Clarence Belgard, and Chief Scotty Shappy of the Carry the Kettle Nakota. Many of these chiefs are here in the room today. And I thank them for being here, for supporting the people that have come here, for supporting Star Blanket. I also want to acknowledge the Star Blanket Indian Residential School Search Committee for knowing very well that there's going to be a likelihood of making a find of this nature that they have. I acknowledge them for that, knowing that that's going to happen, but still undertaking the work, still volunteering their time to do this work. I acknowledge the survivors of these residential schools, right across our lands, right across our territories, everything that they've had to live through, that they've had to endure. But I also thank them for that resilience that they carried through those very difficult times, and that they've shared that with us, that a little bit of that passed on so that we can carry on. I acknowledge them for that. I acknowledge our visiting dignitaries, Minister Mark Miller, Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations for our partner, the federal government of Canada, as well as a sitting MLA for this area, who's Travis Kiesig. I acknowledge you for being here. This very difficult time for many people. And for the people in attendance, for coming here, for yourselves, but mainly for those that have gone before us, and how we acknowledge and honor the people that have gone before our time, especially children. And for the media in attendance, I do acknowledge you being here. What we're here for today, we've heard it for many, many generations. Our old people have told us these stories for many, many generations. We know, we've always known, because it's a part of our history. Our people have lived it. We lived it. This is just physical proof in that way that all of those things, those atrocities that we were told that existed, that they were reality. As our FSIN chief and Star Blanket Chief Star said, this child could have come from any one of our families in our communities. Because as AJ Felix said this morning, being from Sturgeon Lake First Nation, north of Prince Albert, he was also in this school with his siblings. That's how far away kids came for an education. So that's why I say that this child could be from any one of our communities, any one of our families. And we acknowledge them. The reason why we're here, Chief Cameron alluded to it, that way of thinking. We know what's best for you. We know what's best for First Nation people. To have a non-First Nation person take that way of thinking. Yes, many of those that committed these atrocities, many might not be around. But that way of thinking still exists. That way of thinking still exists in government, both levels of non-First Nation government, province and federal. We as leaders still deal with that way of thinking on this regular basis in today's age. We know what's best for you. They don't say that outright, but their policies tell us that outright. And just as my fellow chief said earlier, enough is enough. We're here as true partners of treaty. It's also why our partners are in these lands, is because our ancestors opened that pathway up. And we're living up to those standards with less than what was promised. For over 100 years, We've been making our communities thrive on way less than what was promised. That spirit and intent of treaty, we're not going to let that die. We won't ever let that die. Our future generations won't ever let that die. And that's what we want to tell government, is that we have always approached everything that we have to do to help our people to improve their lives. We have always approached it in a collaborative manner. And many, many times, we have never received that treatment in return. I support Chief Cameron's comments that our communities need proper healing centers. We need proper institutions in place, because we still have many people that are impacted by the trauma that these schools have created. And for many people that think that residential schools are things of 100 years ago, even in my time, I was a student at this very school. And I am younger than that man sitting down at the end of the table. But in all seriousness, that's what our people need. And we're not going to stop fighting until all of these things are in place to address everything that we have had to go through on simple not being treated as a fellow human being. That thinking. With that, I don't want to take up too much of our time because it's very heavy, it's very emotional when you think about the child. But to honor this child going forward, and I speak for all of our leadership here, Chief Michael Starr, Chief Bobby Cameron, the File Hills Qu'appelle chiefs here, as well as many, many of those that couldn't be here. We're not going to stop fighting for what our people deserve. Again, all our people, our grassroots people that came here today, I really thank you. You know, everything that we work forward towards, everything that those before us, the leaders before our time, have worked towards is to improve the lives of our children, our grandchildren, those unborn. And I thank you for the support. You know, we thank you for the support that you provide to us. And each other, from leadership to our people, we will call on you again in issues of importance where we need to stand together. We will stand together with you in the future as well. Thank you.
Next up, we have a member of the Starbuck Cree Nation, our elder, one of our knowledge keepers, and residential school survivor, Sharon Strongar.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very hard to sit in front and see this young child in front of us. I have grandchildren, Chapanak, residential school survivors, my mom, my grandpa. My brothers and myself came to the school. Thank you, Chief Cameron, Chief Mike. We were taken away from our parents, but we learned how to survive. We learned how to forgive. They tried to take our spirits away. They tried to take the Indian out of us, but thank the Creator, We're back here, strong as we'll ever be, helping each other. We need your prayers, everyone. We have to live with this. We have to live here. Every day, we're going to be reminded that we're walking against people of the spirit world. Like one elder said today, we will survive. We will survive and we will strive to see our children grow. That's what that elder said today, but he said it in a good way. Take care of each other. Love one another. Sakistuin, wakustuin, all those things that are important to us. Take care of one another. Love one another. Because back then we didn't know what love was. We weren't told we were loved. All we knew was the abuse. But we're here. Kinanas kumitinawa o takapito steak. Kahkia o takapito steak. Uste kanawa pa minan mina. Kahkia o ta. Euksipit tamalas ito. Ayman metene. We ayman ni kanota. Ituan we woke ke teyak. Euksipit tamana wa kumantik. Ni nakawa pa mitinawa o ito ge. Aka. Sake tuin wa ko tuin. Wisuh kamak. Minit ge. Kawa pa mitinawa minamanto. Nas ko mau. Eu ikse. Sipitama, minit ge kawa pa mitinawa. Mo estás? Because there's no word for goodbye. Thank you.
And now, if any of the, oh, yes, yes. I will give some time to our Zoom participants, Minister Miller, for your comments.
always known that these searches would uncover, and I don't think this makes this discovery or the ones in the future any less.
Recording in progress.
So I do want to salute the security teams and all the workers who put time in despite knowing what they would inevitably find. Canada will continue to support you throughout the steps to uncover the truth foremost and return loved ones to your communities at your pace, obviously, and as the truth foremost. There's impact of these findings. There's certainly nothing that I can say to make it better. So I will stop there today, continue to listen to these and offer you all the support of the Government of Canada. Écoutez.
Thank you, Minister Miller. Now we will open the floor to questions from the media. If you have any questions to present, there is a mic there to my left. Chairs has a mic there. If you have a question, media representation, you can go to that mic there and present your question to the table.
Testing 1, 2, 3. I asked the media just to say your name and where you're reporting from, and you can ask the questions. Thanks.
Hi, Lisa Schick with 980 CJME. Either Mr. Poitras or anybody else at the table who is comfortable speaking, if you'd maybe be able to talk a little bit about what it was like going every day and doing these searches.
I guess from my perspective, when we started the project team, the initial days, there was a lot of questions, a lot of concern, a lot of motivation, a lot of what do we do? How do we start? So we got a lot of good guidance in the beginning, and I'm grateful for that. It made our direction and our plan of action a lot more clear for the project team. Coming here every day, it's been emotional every day, especially if you're closely connected to the school, if you're a former student of the school, if you knew other students, hey, look, we're getting involved into the search now. We're going to start searching, because a lot of the other IRS projects were already moving, and they kept looking at us. Well, when are you guys going to do something? Well, what are you guys going to do? So there was a lot of motivation behind that, but all of us have those experiences, have listened to those stories, have heard those stories from our relatives and everything like that, walking the grounds and knowing. I for one personally knew that this day would eventually come. I knew, based on my grandparents' stories, based on my elder aunts and uncles' stories, and I knew, I had no doubt that this day would come. I just didn't know when. So it's been emotional, just like Chief Mike has said. It's been emotional since day one. We've been at it 1.5 years now, and it doesn't get any easier. That's why those mental health supports, those wellness facilities that the chiefs have talked about up here, that's very much needed. This is a niche area, I guess you could say. There hasn't been anything like this that has been considered. The effects, not only from survivors' perspectives, but now the ones that have to work on the projects, have to deal with that data, with those findings, and having to reopen old wounds in order to find the truth. So it's it's been emotional for sure. There's nothing else I can say about that.
Hello. I just wanted to add, some of my comments, and I want to acknowledge, first of all, our singers as well, the White Calf singers. Thank you for being. I didn't acknowledge you earlier, and thank you for being with us and providing that needed song from our ancestors. So, thank you so much. I guess the emotions are overwhelming for sure. Right from, Orange Shirt Day, that was kind of the beginning, I believe. And in our way, there was some way that needed to happen. We on that day we always gather, we smudged the grounds totally, and then right after that, that's when the discovery was made. And I want to acknowledge the security again and the emotions that they felt on that particular day, in particular the finder and Tyrell Starblanket. Thank him for doing and walking the grounds. They did a lot of walking the grounds, a lot of the security, and they still do. They try to do that necessary work. And their hearts are really heavy from the work that they do. And I tried to explain a little bit on the things that they go through and the things they encounter over those periods of time. So as Sheldon indicated, the mental health supports that are here, I thank you for being here as well and providing that needed someone to talk to. You need someone to talk to and let that out. Get that out, get that hurt feeling out, that sad feeling out. So again, a lot of research. My colleagues have memories. They were talking to me a little bit this morning, and over time, they have stories too of their ancestors going to school here. So doing the research, we have our team too. And even as they go and do that research, it's emotional. They're finding things that are connected to not only our nation, but other nations. So we're gathering that needed data, and we're housing it as safe as we can, and to have that eventually available at some point in whatever way that it'll unfold, whether it be a building, a monument. That's where we'll keep it. And behind us, as you see, as you come in here, we did our best to provide a mural of support in honor of the children here. We had people coming in here, desecrating our buildings, putting unfathomable things on our buildings, calling us names. And that's emotional too. So I think we have an annual walk now. My sister Dale and the team, Kathy, we do that necessary walk, and we provide a little bit of support to the team that way. So that's important too, and it helps. So if you want to come and walk with us, July 1st, you'll get sore legs, but it's good. So thank you.
Father Huguenard kept very detailed records of deaths and burials. I'm just wondering if you have attempted to check his records of 1897 to perhaps identify this body or this person that has been buried here? Have you been working with the church in an attempt to identify the remains that you found?
I guess the So we do have the information that you speak of. We have a research team. We've developed a research team. There is a lot of data and a lot of history that we have to go through. So that work has started. We do have archival information in our office here. So that is one of the goals, to go meticulously through the archives, the information of the day, to see maybe if there was record of it.
The birth and death records were kept rather detailed by Father Huguenard. So if you check 1897, 1898, 1899, you should be able to match. You should be able to match the, or possibly identify the unidentified human remains.
I'll take that question. My name is Sherry Belgarm. I'm one of our project coordinators. Before I was one of the project coordinators, I was actually the lead researcher for the project. And we had a team of researchers. There was 6 of us. Stephanie Belgard is one of the other researchers. We were summer students at the time. And we had Adele Bibo, Sophie Bibo, Stephanie, myself, Connie Starblanket, and Kaylee Starblanket. No, sorry, Sage. Sage Starblanket. We were the researchers. And for that period of time, in our own records at Starblanket, in the band office, unfortunately, over the years, we did have some really heavy flooding. So a majority of the records, the original records that were maintained here on the site, were damaged due to flood and waters. However, the book from the early period, the very first period, the very first school, the Huguenot and then the Grey Nuns recorded every single student right down to the original student that is listed as number 1 in this school. We have those records. So we can go back and we can see how students died, where they were transferred to, if they made it home, up to a certain point in time. However, we can't identify who this child was just simply from the records. We would need to do DNA analysis in order to attempt to see or even make a relation to that. And then in addition to that, even if we went through those records from 1898, there was a lot of deaths. Like there was, when we go through that book, it was really, really hard on our research team. As the lead researcher, I encouraged our team to constantly take a lot of self-care breaks, because going through that book was very heavy emotional work, because there were so many deaths listed in that book. I'm sorry. And it was for many numerous different reasons, but it was very, very hard work. So I hope I answered your question.
This is Connor with Global Virginia. I'm wondering, maybe for Sherry or Sheldon, if you have an idea of roughly how many students attended the schools at Qu'appelle over the course of their operations.
we're fortunate to have some of our research team here.
I think actually that might be a better question for Stephanie. She did a bulk of the research during that time.
That was a fact.
You're on.
Hi, guys. Can you repeat your question, please?
Might have attended, how many students might have attended the schools over the course of their operation?
It depends on which school you're talking about as well. Because there's 3 schools, right? And then that's a wide variety of children that came to the school from across Turtle Island. So it depends on what school you're talking about. If you're talking about the first school, I can't really give you a number, to be honest. I can't give you a precise number because children come and go. And
She's too shy to come up with an answer for that. We couldn't put her on the spot. Yeah, so she did a lot of that research this past summer, and this is actually her first time back since that summer. So we didn't prep her or anything like that for your question. But just getting a text here. Minister Miller has to go, so I just want to acknowledge Mark Miller, Minister, one last time before he leaves the Zoom. So thank you, Minister Miller, for joining us here today.
Can answer. Hey, Sheldon, Cherish here. I do have a fact sheet that I will be sending out to the media with some of that information. So I'll send that to you and get the right numbers for you. So they'll be sent with the media release. Okay?
One more.
Yeah.
Good question, though. Good question.
Thank you. Just one more question. I know this was touched on in the presentation. Can you maybe go over some of the sources for which funding was taken for this project, and whether you're hoping to receive more funding from different levels of government? I know we just lost the minister, unfortunately, but if you're hoping for more funding from the federal and provincial governments to continue the search for the different projects that you've mentioned.
Yeah, our main source of funding was the Residential Schools Missing Children Community Support Funding. That is the only funding that we applied for and have received thus far. It is the same pot of dollars that FSIN had applied for and which funded our project in the early stages until we got our own funding proposal in place, and then we went through the review and whatnot, and then achieved approval for our own funding. So we're able to step away from FSIN after that point because we're able to move forward under our own funding source from the same funding source there. So yeah, that's the only source of funding that we've achieved so far.
Hi, Carrie Banjo with Eagle Feather News. Sheldon, you had mentioned one of the next phases you're hoping to explore is gathering survivor stories. Is there any idea of how that will transpire? How do you think that will look? How can survivors reach out and maybe share their stories with you?
So right now, both of our coordinators and our research team are all trained to take those stories. There's different mediums that they can share their story. It can be a phone call, they can come in person, they can send an email. There's different ways to collect the story, document it, and record it for posterity. So there's different avenues. We're even getting a phone line installed in here so that a person can just reach out and make that appointment with our research team and our coordinators to to get those stories brought in. There is contact information. There's pamphlets there in the back. It has the information of who to contact if you have something to share. Our initial media event, for those of you who were here prior when we kicked off the project there back a year or so ago, that motivated a lot of former school survivors to come forward, and we had an influx of stories at that time. We're hoping now, moving forward, people are a little bit more comfortable with sharing their stories. So we have the ability to record and store that information. We're open to take stories at any time. The coordinators are ready, willing, and able to meet with those individuals and take those stories at any time. Just have to make the arrangements.
It was just the second part of my question. Just a follow-up question to that. I know the TRC went around, they gathered a lot of survivor stories. A lot of those survivor stories excluded the, what I'd like to refer to as the last generation of residential school survivors, those of my time, and we didn't get a chance to share our stories. Moving forward, are you going to have these stories like in a permanent collection? Because it takes a lot for a survivor to come forward and share their stories. And it's really disheartening for me to hear that a lot of these stories of our old ones are going to be lost. So will you be taking all the stories from anyone who's going to share them and guarantee that you will keep them?
Yes.
Okay.
For a lack of a better example, we're going to try and develop our own miniature TRC here as part of the commemorative ideas that we discussed here. One of them is going to be a database, and we'll hopefully turn that into something that people can view, people can read, people can experience. Doesn't matter what era of story, whatever it belongs to, even if it was a story that was passed down and then relayed to us, or it could be, from you and I, we're both students here at the same time. We have stories too, so we won't turn anyone away. If you have a story, come and share it. It's open.
Okay. Laurence Tachereau from Radio-Canada CBC. Do you have any sort of time frame for when you might get more answers on those 2,000 hits, when the drilling will start, when the results can come back? When can people expect more answers?
Yeah, we're tentatively looking at the spring or maybe early summer. We're giving our partner Axiom a chance to bring all those pieces together, those core drilling pieces. We have to give them time. We've expressed what we want. They've said yes, that we can accomplish that. So the ball is in their court now to put all those pieces together, bring us the equipment, and start the core sampling.
Okay, so you don't need any more fund to do that. You have what you need to.
Oh,
do.
we always need funding.
Yes, but to get the answers right now.
The core sampling piece was a consideration that's new. We didn't consider that in the first proposal, so it's going to be part of the new work plan for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there, Alex Salome with the Regina Leader Post. It was mentioned the number, the 2,000 hits. Sorry, should have done that earlier. You mentioned the significance of 2,000 possible hits. And Minister Miller mentioned, though, this is also the first time that remains have been found. And I think Mr. Forhorn said that this is confirmation of what's always been known. But I was hoping for the table, anybody who would like to speak on it. What do you feel is the significance of this to not only this search, but every other search happening in Canada? Well,
the significance from my perspective is validation. The stories have always been told, passed down from generation to generation. While we're collecting stories, there's a sense of relief. Well, no one has listened to us before. We tell our story here, we tell our story there. No one's listening. It takes the IRS projects and those teams to take those stories and give a sense of relief to the storyteller. This discovery here at this site just validates what we've always known. It validates to the world that those stories have some merit, and we're going to move on that, moving forward. Like I said in my earlier comment, I knew without a doubt that we would find something here at this site, and I continue to believe that there'll be further findings moving forward. So, in a keyword of validation.
And going back to that comment that I made regarding validation, validation in that sense is not necessarily, I guess in a respectful way, a needed part for our people, because we've always known that it was there. But where it does mean something to us is dignity. So where this fragment that was explained to us was found, even during my years of attending this residential school for 4 years, there was never ever an area marked out as a cemetery. Never in the history. When you inter someone in a designated place, our people respect that place, because that place is where they're laid to rest with dignity. And that's what's important in this case, is we want to make sure that all of these children receive the dignity that they would have otherwise received in our home communities. That's what's important to us.
I just want to add, well, first of all, before I add, I wanted to, some of our young people are here. Little ones are here, so we acknowledge them too, and for coming here and listening, and that's the generational impact of the trauma of this residential school, and all residential school, not only in this region, but all regions have impacted. And how we have to, continue to teach them, not only in our school systems on our nations, but also the federal or the provincial school system. So we got to continue that work to help heal and be mindful of the things that have happened in the past. And I know maybe they are, but this finding again escalates that. They must and will, and we have to push that it carries on. It carries on the teaching. It carries on to make sure that they have that understanding. And then the colonialism that we talk about, the generational impacts must discontinue in some point. We are, they say, in the 7th generation, and it may take that much time before it can be fully understandable and away, and that we have equal ability, if you will, and that our treaties are impacted the way our ancestors wanted them to be. So, hi.
Thank you, Chief Starr. That precludes our questions from the media for today. I know that the media, you guys have some deadlines. I have the media release here, so if you guys want to come see me over here. I just want to thank everybody for attending today. We're just going to do a quick presentations to our speakers up and our dignitaries. So our committee will quickly do a presentation. So thank you.
Okay, we have some gifts that we wanted to present. There's a little bit of change in the agenda. The project team was communicating with each other over text here. In the interim here, so our first gift we want to present to Tyrell Star Blanket. He was the one who initially came across the discovery, so he's part of our security team, so we want to acknowledge him as the first one on the scene to make the discovery.
And once, when we're concluding as well, after the presentation, when we do the honor song, we'll ask for an honor song. If you're wanting to come and pass by and put your hands on the remains, you're more than welcome. We open that invitation as well once we do the honor song. So, hi.
Our next member of the security team that was part of the discovery is Bobby Joe Star. If she's in the building. These are members of the security team that followed Tyrell and were a part of the initial discovery. The next member of the initial discovery team was Vicky Denemy. Vicky Denemy, if she's in the building.
If we can get the leadership, if you want to come and stand at the back here with our team, you're more than welcome as they come by and pay their respects. So we ask you that way from our team, and the chief and the tribal chief ask you to come and do that. Thank you.
Our next security team member that was there in the initial discovery was Gage Star. Gage Star. Our next member of security that was there in the initial discovery was Mrs. Gage Star, Kirsten Goodwill. And last but not least, the final member of the initial discovery team. He's the supervisor of our security team here, Mr. Scott McNabb. We also want to acknowledge our elder who lifted the pipe for us this morning, Uncle AJ Felix. AJ, Uncle AJ. Maybe if Auntie Patsy could come and grab Uncle's. Oh, Donna's gonna come grab it. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. And then the one, our elder who lifted the ladies' pipe this morning, Auntie Ethel Starblanket, or Ethel Dubois. Remember, she changed her name. Ethel Dubois. And we want to acknowledge our elder who spoke here at the table for her words, Elder Sharon Strongarm. Our visiting leadership, who took time out of his busy schedule to be with us here today. Our Grand Chief of the FSIN, Chief Bobby Cameron. Our local tribal council leadership, who also took time out of his busy schedule to sit with us here today, Tribal Chair Jeremy Fourhorns. Our media relations representative, the ones who dedicated a lot of her time to help us put this day together and help us manage and train up our folks in the ways of media relations, Cherish Francis.
I keep chiming in here just to remind as well, when the security watches us, if you're wanting to place things, we at the bottom of our mural, mural. If you're wishing to bring something, that's where we decided to do that. So just to let you know.
And then the project team would like to acknowledge a youth representative to symbolize the youth and the ones that are represented throughout the years as coming to the school. We want to symbolize and respect the youth in that manner. So we're asking Ravina to come in and accept a star blanket on behalf of the youth. That's it, she said. No more blankets. Okay, as what Chief Mike said before, we're going to do an honor song, and for those of you who wish to do a pass by at the remains here, you're more than welcome to do that as the drum group are singing their song. So with that, take it away.
All right, you guys, we're going to end the live feed. I thank you for tuning in. And like you said before, mental health numbers right below. If you guys are needing to speak to somebody, it's open 24 hours, 1-866-925-4419, 306-332-2608 or 811 or 1-833-456-4566. Once again, I want to thank you for tuning into this live broadcast brought to you by IOPS. And prayers to everybody out there who's needing them. With us, we'll see you at the next one.